Hey, Mega Moms, Jessica Hensley here with Real Estate Mega Moms, where we help moms create a life and a business that they love. And we do that by teaching them to leverage systems, software, and support. And today I have Holly Brink with us. Hey, Holly.
Hi.
I'm excited to chat with Holly. I made a couple of posts in our group about looking for micro team leaders to come on and to just be like case studies for me. And Holly like raised her hand. She's like, I may be a micro team. I'm not sure. And we talked through it. And I'm like, yeah, you're definitely a micro team. I can't wait to dive into her setup. So not only does Holly she runs a micro team and she has a successful business since she started this model, but she also is a managing broker in Iowa, right?
Yep,
Iowa.
Iowa.
Yeah, managing broker for EXP, which is the same company that I'm with. And that I want to actually talk about that a little bit too, because I know a big objection, I guess I would say, that people have about coming to EXP is how accessible is a broker. So I figured she can give us a little bit of information on that as well. So all right, so that's what we're doing today. We're going to be talking all about that in our podcast. And if you're watching us live, go ahead and give us a like, put your name in the comments, let us know where you're watching from, show us some love so we can know that we are talking to people and that you're enjoying this topic. So, Holly, tell us a little bit about yourself. Where are you from, and how did you enter the real estate industry?
Yeah, so I was born and raised in Arizona. I have two kids, 5 and 7. We moved to Spencer, Iowa in 2016 officially. My mom grew up here, which is how we ended up here. I have some relatives in the area and my aunt and uncle. We wanted to raise our kids in the more of a Midwest vibe. My husband is from Michigan, so we just really like the Midwest vibe. The days are longer, the drives are shorter, so it's nice. I started in real estate, the industry, about 15 years ago as an apartment manager. So I started doing temp work as like a leasing assistant, and then I applied and got a job as an on-site property manager for a 136 unit apartment community. And so I was kind of thrown into that. And the only way to move up in that industry is to get your real estate license so you can then supervise multiple properties. So that's when I got my real estate license and then decided like I shifted gears to single family property management and then eventually just sales and no property management at all. So, but so I've been doing sales for, you know, 8 or 9 years full time.
I would say like that's the worst introduction to real estate ever. I hate property management.
I have stories.
I'm sure you have lots of stories. I have my assistant right now. She did property management, and she was telling me like she was met with like at gunpoint before. Like she managed some pretty rough apartments, but we I've done it before. We've managed some. I managed a 15 unit apartment, so nothing like what you did. But oh my gosh, full time work right there. So you were
Absolutely.
ready to kind of exit property management and move into the sales, you said 8 or 9 years ago.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's
how did that go?
so it was funny because I was in Iowa helping to take care of my grandparents as they aged, and I was looking for income and something to do. So I actually joined a team back in Arizona because that's where my license was as their transaction coordinator. Eventually, my grandpa was like, "Go back to Arizona. You're going to make more money. That's where your life is." So that's where I went. I went back and I became her buyer's agent. And that's when I got really good and really focused on that. Any seller leads just went to her. She paid me a referral fee and it was great. So I really honed in on my buyer strategy skills. And gosh, then we moved to Iowa. I got my Iowa license and was, doing my own thing, but I was so used to being on a team that it was just foreign to me. So here I was in this basically new area. I had some family, but not a lot of sphere. And so eventually I found once EXP launched in Iowa, because EXP wasn't in Iowa. So I joined EXP with my Arizona license first. And then in Iowa, as soon as we launched in 2018, and so after about a year and a half was when they asked, Craig was like, I want to kind of take a step back. He was the broker who helped open up the state. And so they were like, well, who do you think would be a good fit to like take over while we find someone? And he was like, Holly. So I was like, that was really nice and honored. And after a couple weeks, I was like, can I just interview for the job? Like, I'm really liking it. And at the time we had 69 EXP Iowa agents. And so I had my interviews and they gave me the job, and it was such a blessing because I've been able to grow professionally and personally with the state and setting up the systems to help manage an infrastructure. So now, as of today, we are about 334 agents on the eXp Realty Iowa roster.
Yeah, that's amazing. I know that a lot of people ask the question when they're getting ready to move their license, how accessible is my broker? Because for those that don't know, with EXP, it's a national brokerage. It's kind of the cloud is what they call it, a cloud brokerage. And it's agent owned. It's not owned by the brokers, which is kind of makes it different than your traditional setup. So traditionally, real estate companies, you have the broker. Typically, they're the broker owner, and they're the ones that get the split, right? It's all everyone's working to help them be successful. And with EXP, they've kind of flipped it on its head. And I feel like the brokers and the staff are working to make the agents successful, right? And so I know for my broker, I'm in Kansas, and my broker is Chris Cribb. So I'm sure you know all the brokers. And there's Tony, I think, is there's a couple of them,
Hmm.
and they are for Kansas and Missouri. And I know he is very, very accessible. If I need to reach him, I can call him, I can text him. My favorite way is to just to go into the world, and I can see him within 5 minutes, or the compliance team, and I can get my question answered in no time. Prior to EXP, I was with Keller Williams, and I would say my broker is more accessible to me through EXP than when I was with Keller Williams. And that was my personal experience. So
Yeah,
how does
well,
that work on your side?
yeah. So, what I can say is that it's important. We are agent success obsessed, and we put the agents in the forefront of all of our decisions as a company. And I don't want to speak too much for leadership, but I can say that, there are expectations of us, and checking in and being responsive and being physically present in our virtual office are all things that we are required to do. My mantra has always been, I work for you. So when agents join our brokerage, I let them know, like, yeah, in a lot of ways, we're married together now, and the state holds me responsible for everything you do, which is why it's important to come to my trainings and learn everything you can and listen, come to the meetings and listen to what's going on. But on the other hand, I work for you. If you're not, if enough agents weren't happy with my services, where they were getting reports that you were unresponsive, then we are very replaceable. And so, unlike other brokerages where the broker is sort of the boss and is oftentimes super financially invested in the success of the company, we're no more really financially invested than the agents are, and our salaries are paid by the agents, and we are here to support the agents. And I feel like that mindset is definitely unique, and it's one that I embrace and think of, all the time. So
Yeah. I mean, it is really interesting. And there's a lot of accountability. So I have seen nothing local for me, but I have seen in other states where brokers were replaced that weren't, like you said, they weren't as accessible or weren't doing a great job. EXP is going to slip in there and make sure that they got the best person for the state as possible. So, all that being said, you're managing 330 agents in Iowa. So, you're rock and roll in your broker position, but you still have your real estate license and you still have your own personal business, which is another cool thing I think that they allow staff and brokers to still sell so long as they're not neglecting their duties. And you take that very seriously. So you shared with me that last year you closed 25 transactions before you started this micro team model. So tell us about like how did you close those 25 transactions, and what was the breaking point where you're like, I need to change something up?
so I'm in rural Iowa, right, where the average sales price until recently was 125. Now it's more like 165. Um, so I always was like, I'm never gonna cap, I'm never gonna icon. They should, as a staff member, they should just like opt me out. I should be able to opt out of that, right? And so I was always just like making excuses. And last year something just happened, and what I count as transactions is not what a lot of people would, but anything in our enterprise system that settles and the number shows up, that's a transaction for me. So sometimes it's referrals, and sometimes it's when I'm a mentor for somebody, whatever. And so last year, I my anniversary is December 1st every year. And so last year I capped like right around Thanksgiving. And I was like, I what now? And so it really was a mind shift for me. And I was like, so if I was actually trying, imagine what I could do. And I have always believed that leaders lead from the front. And I don't want my personal business to distract or take away from me being the broker. So, how can I do that? And so, ironically, one of my Iowa agents started a VA placement company about the same time. And so I was like, I'm going to give it a shot and I'm going to see if I can double next year and maybe cap faster. Maybe I can icon and still keep this high level of agent satisfaction. I won't know if I don't try. I can always backpedal and take my foot off the gas, but let's see if I can do that, because there's something to be said about still being in it as well. Like, I'm still learning from transactions and being like, oh, great, did you know about finger leads and that your buyers will get called by 9 different lenders after they fill out a loan application, and all sorts of stuff, that I can share with my agents. So, but anyways, that was the pivotal moment for me, was when I capped last year and I got some extra money for capping, and I was like, could I actually icon? Could this be a thing? So that's my goal this year, is to
Ooh.
cap faster and see if I can hit icon.
And I know you said you're on track to double your transactions from last year.
Yeah, I pulled it up. So last year I capped it with 25 transactions by December 1st. Or actually it says I capped on November 8th, right? Which was my last transaction for the year. So since December 1st, I've done 15 transactions and I'm 83% capped.
Yeah. And so you have brought on the VA. So tell us what that process was like, finding, training, what are they doing for you? How many do you have? All the things with the VAs.
Yeah, so the company name is Virtuplicity. There's a lot of different ones out there, and I can't talk about any of the other ones except the ones I use. So I was one of her first clients, and I told her what I wanted, and they went out and they, um, posted for that position, and then they vet all of them before they get to you. So they're checking internet speeds, backup plans, because depending on where this particular company works with VAs based out of the Philippines. So, they get a lot of storms and power outage. So what's their backup plan for that? What's their typing speed? What's their English like? They have them send a voice sample. Um, and so they do all this vetting before they bring you the best, if you will, the best 3 to 4 to sort of interview and see if, you click. And they provide you with a list of like questions to help facilitate that. Most valuable to me was the training that they gave to me, uh, because I didn't know what I was doing. I mean, I've ran a business before, I manage agents, but managing a VA is different and it takes a different set of skills. So, I mean, here we are, 6 months later, and I still get some ongoing coaching with that, whenever I have an issue. But, gosh, the first VA we hired was a flop, and it wasn't their fault. They have a great not return policy, but like replacement policy. So the first one was sort of a flop. We realized quickly that, because 8 hours a day is a long time, especially if it's somebody's job is to be in front of a computer helping you do a specific task. So you can kind of tell fairly quickly if they're not holding their weight. And this particular one was, I think, double dipping and outsourcing some of her stuff. So we realized some of those things to look for. And anyways, it wasn't shortly after that I found my current assistant, and he is just amazing. He's kind of a GVA, a general VA. Um, and he just helps with everything. His background was ISA, which was originally what I was hoping to hire him for, but he just all around like answers the phone, does lead follow-ups, helping with transaction coordination. So my last hire was a transaction coordinator who could just help facilitate the contracts, the SkySoap files, all of that stuff. And that was my experience, is just having that training, learning about tools like Wise for paying them, and Slack. As EXP, we use Trello, but I was taught Asana through the VA system. We have a weekly mastermind with all of the VA, or not the VA clients, but the VAs have their own masterminds and their own trainings. I forgot that piece. So the VAs have their own masterminds, their own trainings that they continue to plug into and everything. And then I have a weekly mastermind with the other clients so that we can, brainstorm and talk about stuff as well. So it's just been an ongoing blessing.
Yeah, that's really, really interesting. So before you decided to hire a VA, did they basically say, here's the VAs, here's what they can do, like a list of things, or did you create a job for them?
I told them what I was looking for,
Okay.
and together we decided, like, are you look because sometimes you're looking for something more specialized, like just an ISA or just a transaction coordinator, or just a marketing social media person. And so I told them what I was looking for, and then they presented me with their resumes, their experience, and excuse me, and we just kind of went from there.
So how do you hold them accountable? Do you have like daily meetings with your VAs?
Yeah, so we meet briefly once a day by necessity. We really only plan to have team meetings like once a week, but usually at the end of my workday, we get together so I can find out what's happened during the day while I was focused on the agents at EXP Iowa. So we kind of do that. Is there any calls I need to make, any tasks that I need to do? Um, and so I meet with them briefly every day. Some people only meet with their assistants, twice a week because they have set tasks. Like you might not need to meet with your transaction coordinator more than once a week because they know the tasks that they need to do. Um, but yeah, my structure now is just like once a day, briefly in the evening, and then as needed, because we're still talking like via Slack and the to-do lists and Asana and things. So
What's a idea of what they are doing, like top 20 tasks, top 20% of their tasks, the most important things they're doing for you on a daily basis?
yeah, gosh, if you asked him, he'd say everything. But but definitely answering, the team phone line, staying on top of our comms. We have group chats with our clients so that he can respond if he needs to. Um, trying to set appointments for me so that I have buyer strategy sessions and listing appointments on nights and weekends and after hours that I can do. Setting up showings if we've gotten to that point with a client where we're doing showings, he'll coordinate that. Um, the like graphics, any graphics. We don't do a lot of social media, but like if at closing, I've kind of pivoted to sending my client a graphic and giving them the opportunity to post it and tag me versus me doing it because it's just not who I am. And so helping with that. Before we had the TC, I mean, Aries stepped up and was doing all of that work too, the file management, the transaction coordinating, putting together the listing packet, the buyer packet. So it's more a matter of like, what does he not do, right? So
Yeah, what where do you exist in your business right now? What's your primary tasks?
yeah, so obviously I'm the face of the Brink team, but I do all of the buyer and seller strategy sessions, and I do the home showings and the contract negotiations. And
Yeah.
I feel like they've taken everything else off my plate.
That's amazing. Yeah,
Mhm.
that's amazing. And that's why you're on pace to hopefully Icon this year as well. I mean, and we haven't even talked about this. You also have had a few agents that have talked to you about partnering with you and be on your team throughout the state. So how are you going to handle the agents plugging into this setup? Are your VAs going to be helping them as well?
Yes. So that's the plan right now. It's only like 2 agents that want to do it because it's obviously I don't want to get in trouble or deter from my main job. But that's what it looks like is, we've realized that it's best if I still do my systems, my strategy session, everything, and then they go out, they show the homes, then I still help with the negotiations and the team still helps with all of the paperwork. So it really frees up a lot of their time inadvertently as well. And then just, obviously we have to have meetings to discuss clients and files and things as well.
Yeah, I love that. I was also going to ask you, it's left my brain now.
I keep noticing, I look up and then I realize it looks weird on the camera. So I apologize, everybody. I don't know why I'm so used to like looking at the camera, but then it makes it look like I'm not looking at you.
No, no, you're good. I think looking at the camera makes you look, I think. I'm not sure. Um, Man, Holly, I know I had another question for you, but now it's I know what it was. You said that your VA is calling and trying to set appointments. And there's a lot of people watching right now or maybe listening on our podcast that are struggling with getting leads. And so I think it'd be great to talk about like who are they calling? How are they scheduling appointments for you?
Yeah, that's a great thing to talk about. So I am plugged into a lot of the referral companies out there. I don't have a problem paying an at closing referral fee. I don't participate in a lot of the upfront advertising stuff. I do have a Google ad because I'm part of that Google ad services where I've confirmed my identity and have insurance and stuff. So I think I put about $200 a month into that. So sometimes we get incoming calls for that. Most of my clients are referrals, though, either from other agents, other EXP agents, or those companies. And so he just follows up because the key is really answering the phone. I'm not getting any more leads than I used to. It's just now somebody's actually answering the phone and getting them connected to a lender and like setting the appointment. So that would be most of it. Sometimes it's past client referrals, but that's the bulk of my business.
And so when these leads come in, where is he tracking them? Do you have a CRM that you guys are using?
Yeah, we use KV Core. So I'm trying to, cut my expenses as much as possible. So we already pay for KV Core. So that's what I use. Now I know a lot of big mega icon teams use great robust programs and like follow up boss and all that, but KV Core does it great for me and I'm already paying for it. So I have yet to authentically hear of something that they love about their system that KV Core doesn't do. So I'm just like, I don't know why you guys pay for that.
I know. I love KV Core. I use KV Core for lead gen and for my my website, for the front facing public website. I do use Follow Up Boss only because it records conversations. I'm able to do all of our communications within it and do group messages with different team members. So I pay for different, seats on Follow Up Boss. I know there's a team account with KV Core, but I'm not aware of being able to basically assign to do it the same way that I do it with Follow Up Boss, if that
Yeah,
makes
and
sense.
again, I can't speak for that. So what I do with my informal teammates is once you have a lead, you can actually share it and you can give them viewing and editing rights, and that way everyone can leave comments in there. I do that with my lenders as well. You can register your lender so they have access to your KV Core or that those specific clients they've been assigned, and everybody's leaving notes on the same file.
Yeah, I mean that totally works. It's and does it record calls though? I don't because I know you can call
Um,
from the app, but I
yeah,
don't.
it used to. Now because my VA is in the Philippines. We use open phone. So I have all of my KV Core calls funneled to the open phone line. So by default, they're recorded there.
Nice, and that's probably not very expensive. I've not heard of that.
Yeah, open phone. That's another tool I learned from Virtuplicity. So
Cool. We're learning
yeah.
all kinds of stuff today. I love it. Is there anything else you would say to someone that's maybe they're struggling right now? I feel like that's a common theme I'm hearing from both solo and team leaders as well, solo agents and team leaders having a hard time, getting leads. And I think a lot of people are nervous about the market and the direction it's going, especially with interest rates going up. So what would your advice be to them?
Man, stop watching the media. Like I used to be, coached by the Mike Ferry organization, and I just don't watch the media. All the news I do get is usually from my Facebook feed or somebody being like, "Oh, you should really know that this happened." But otherwise, just stop listening because I feel like the media is directing things, and it's not really true. Because like I hear that, and I'm like, "Gosh, that's not what I'm seeing." Right? I'm sitting here seeing Iowa agents busy doing business. What you're seeing though is a shift in that it's first time home buyers. There's people that are in homes now and comfortable, and it's going to take freaking the jaws of life to get them out of their house, right? So pivot, like they're first time home buyers, start targeting those 19, 20, 21 year olds, the fresh out of college kids who can afford it. They're getting a job. Um, is it still equivalent to or close enough to what they would be paying in rent? But when they go to sell, they're going to get equity back and they can use that for their next house. Like interest rates may go down again, they can refinance and they may not, which means now's the best time to buy. Why would you wait in case they go up to 12? I don't know.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to to put myself, I know it's happening, but I don't listen to the media. I don't listen to the news. I'm just in the moment, and my agents, EXP Iowa agents are busy and hustling, and um, just got to pivot and think about what your target is. So if your target has always been, a specific thing, maybe you need to pivot and look, because it's the first time home buyers that are buying. Of those 15 deals, like 13 of them were first time home buyers.
Yeah. Yeah, if you're not part of our inner circle, Holly, you should join it. So we have a free inner circle, and then we do have a paid version as well. But I share our first time homebuyer strategy, which we basically just post on Marketplace, Facebook Marketplace, and my team generates anywhere from 5 to 10 qualified buyer leads every week.
Okay, yeah, that sounds like
Yeah.
a great, yeah, that's something I'm not doing.
Yeah, and I think your VA can implement it for you as very, very easily.
Hmm.
Yeah, so definitely tap into that. And anyone watching, feel free to join the inner circle as well. We'll put the link to join the free version of the inner circle. Although, if you want to do the extra version, it's only $97 a month, and it comes with like a ton of benefits with all of our courses and monthly graphics, and you get to be on the calls and be coached weekly, and like it's insane value. So,
Awesome.
well, Holly, this was a pleasure. Sorry, go ahead. You were going to say something.
Yeah, no, I was just gonna say, like, one of the great things about starting with a virtual assistant in another state, in case you didn't know, because we make a lot of assumptions, right? In case somebody watching this doesn't know, is that the value of the dollar is different. So, I pay my VA, um, I think he's on the higher end, right? So you can start at half this. You can start at 5,000 pesos a week. But just to give you an idea, I give him 13,000 pesos a week, which is $220 a week. And
Yeah.
so and I get all this value. But it's,
Yeah.
all about setting the expectations, and you always want to start with whatever's not either what, like, you're like, "Oh, I don't want to do that," or, "Oh, I really don't know how to do that." Those are the people that you want to get to supplement your business to start, which is why it's different for everybody. For one person, it may be social media. For another, it may be making calls and setting the appointments, and for another, it may be the paperwork. So, I think anything that's going to take that burden off of you, that's where I would start, and that's where having conversations with somebody else to maybe even help you pinpoint that weakness, would be helpful.
Yeah, which is where we can come into play as well with the micro team formula coaching program. And I do offer
Mhm.
free strategy calls for that, anyone that's watching. And I'm a big believer in this system. I mean, for me, micro team was a game changer. And for those that don't know, when we are referring to micro team, what that means is you are the lead is the primary producing agent. The contracts are ran underneath the team leader, and they have support. So and just like Holly said, I mean, she's exactly right. You first have to understand your business. Hire yourself for each position to know what it takes to make that successful, and then identify where your time is best spent. So you hire yourself and then fire yourself as quickly as you can for each of these positions when you see, okay, I put that off, like she said, I'm procrastinating on this. I get that pit in my stomach every time I go to do this, or it takes me long time, and I think it should only take, like for marketing, for example, some people, it takes them several hours to create a graphic because they're perfectionists, and that's not the highest and best use of their time, right? So finding someone else to manage their social media may make sense as a first hire. So I help our students identify
Great.
who their strategic hires should be. And so with that support, it frees you up to do the highest and best use of your time, which is typically generating leads, going on appointments, converting business, negotiating contracts. Just like Holly's saying, that's where she exists in her business with just one VA right now. I mean, how amazing! How amazing is that? And she has time to be the managing broker of 330 agents. So I love that. You're a great testimony to this, that it
Awesome.
works.
Thank you. Well, I just, if it weren't for the agents and my job as a broker, I wouldn't have the opportunities that I have. So that's why it's such an important priority to me. Um, to
Yeah.
make sure that the agents are doing well and being supported, and then I'm answering my phone when it rings. So,
Yeah, I love it. All right. Well, thank you, Holly. And thanks everyone watching. We will be live again next Monday, or you can watch the replay on YouTube or listen to us on podcasts, anywhere you get your podcasts. Make sure to leave us a review and subscribe if you do that. And we'll see you next week.
all right.
Bye.
Thanks. Bye.